I'm 74 years old, and I'm about to tell you something that might shock you. 5 years ago, at 69, I left my husband after 42 years of marriage. It was the hardest decision I've ever made, and the best one. I know what people assume. She's unstable. She's selfish. She's having a crisis. That's how it looks from the outside. But from the inside, for the first time in decades, I could breathe. If you're in an unhappy marriage right now, telling yourself you've invested too much time or you're too old to begin again, I need you to hear this. Because before I left, I wasted years believing the same lies. And before I tell you why I walked away, I have to tell you why I stayed. Because that's the part nobody asks about. Everyone wants the dramatic ending. Nobody talks about the invisible chains that keep you there, year after year. I got married at 27 in 1979, just outside Cleveland, Ohio. I thought I was doing life the right way. Thomas was dependable, steady job, good family. My parents approved. My friends said I was lucky. I wore the white dress and truly believed in forever. But the damage didn't arrive loudly. There was no violence, no scandal, no single moment you could point to and say, "This is wrong." He simply didn't see me, didn't listen, didn't ask what I wanted. Every major decision belonged to him: where we lived, how money was spent, what our weekends looked like. And when I tried to speak up, he would brush it aside. That's impractical. That doesn't make sense. Eventually, I stopped speaking. About 6 years in, I told him I wanted to go back to school. I'd always dreamed of finishing my degree in English literature. He smiled like I was a child playing pretend. "What would you even do with that?" he asked. "We can't afford it." There was always something more important: his career, the house, the payments. Everything except me. I told myself this was marriage, compromise, sacrifice, being realistic. My mother did it. My grandmother did it. This was just what women did. Then we had 2 daughters, and staying started to feel noble. "I'm doing this for them," I said. "They need stability. They need both parents." I poured everything into being a mother. If I couldn't be seen as a woman, at least I could be needed as a mother. For a while that worked. The girls kept me busy. They distracted me from the loneliness of lying beside a man who felt more like a roommate than a partner. From the outside, we looked perfect. School events, church, holiday dinners, respectable, stable. But inside the house, we barely spoke. Weekends passed like fog. We moved around each other like strangers sharing a roof. On our 25th anniversary, our daughters threw a party. Friends raised glasses and toasted our beautiful marriage. I smiled. I thanked them. And that night, I went home with a man I no longer loved, turned to my side of the bed, and cried silently into my pillow. The years kept going. The girls grew up and moved out. And suddenly, my biggest reason for staying was gone. They didn't need me to stay anymore. But by then, I had new reasons. What will people think? How do you untangle 40 years? How do you tell your children their childhood was built on quiet unhappiness? And practically, how does a woman in her late 60s start over with no real income of her own? So I stayed, year after year, telling myself it was too late, until the call from my doctor. I was 68. It was supposed to be a routine mammogram. This one wasn't routine. He said the word no one is ready for. Cancer. Breast cancer. Stage 2. Caught early, but serious. Surgery. Possibly radiation. I sat there listening to treatment plans and statistics, and all I could think was, I am going to die having never really lived. Not because I thought I'd die soon, but because I finally saw the truth. I had been disappearing for decades. In the 3 weeks before surgery, something shifted inside me. Fear turned into clarity. Time became real. All the reasons I stayed, reputation, comfort, fear, suddenly felt meaningless. Because if I died tomorrow, the last 40 years would have been nothing but a performance. I survived the surgery. The cancer was removed. Recovery was quiet. And I remember lying in that hospital bed while my husband sat beside me, scrolling on his phone, not holding my hand, not saying much, present in body, absent everywhere else. That was the moment I knew. If I was lucky enough to have 10 or 15 years left, I refused to spend them slowly disappearing. 2 months later, I told Thomas I wanted a divorce. He didn't get angry. He looked confused. "We've been married over 40 years," he said. "Exactly," I replied. "And I've been lonely for almost all of them." The divorce took nearly a year. It was painful, expensive, humiliating. Some friends vanished. My sister called me selfish. "You're throwing everything away," she said. But I wasn't throwing anything away. I was finally choosing myself. Telling my daughters was the hardest part. They were grown, in their late 30s, and they were shocked. "But you and Dad always seemed fine," one of them said. That broke my heart, because it meant I had hidden my unhappiness so well that even my children believed it was normal. But eventually they understood. One of them even thanked me. She said watching me choose myself gave her permission to question her own life. At 70, I moved into my own apartment alone for the first time. I was terrified. I woke up some nights thinking I'd ruined everything, but I didn't fall apart. I learned. I adjusted. And slowly I remembered who I was. The woman who loved books, who had opinions, who had dreams. I even went on a date. It didn't last, but it reminded me of something powerful. It is never too late to feel seen. I'm 74 now. My life isn't perfect. My apartment is small. My income is modest. Sometimes I'm lonely, but I am free. And that freedom is worth more than anything I lost. Here's the truth nobody tells you. The regret isn't leaving. The regret is not leaving sooner. If you're quietly unhappy, at any age, hear me. You are not too old. It is not too late. And you have not invested too much time. The life you're waiting for is waiting for you to choose it. Subscribe to True Wisdom of Life and write a comment. What is one fear that kept you stuck longer than it should have? Just one word is enough.